ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's masterclass. It's brought to you by Profit Master Global Outsourcing, premium offshoring solutions. My name is Paul Jansz, and it's a pleasure to have you all here today with us as again we take you through one of our fantastic masterclasses. It's going to be a massive show over the next hour. You're going to get to hear and see a lot of different things with one of our best speakers that we've had on before, and I've asked her to come back to talk about a really important topic. It's a topic that I've been through myself over the last 2 years, and we're going to go through with some tips and tricks and all sorts of little things that will help you to enhance your personal brand. And we're going to talk about communication as well using artificial intelligence. Now, if you're joining me for the first time, let me share a little bit about these masterclasses. Now, there were a series that was, we sort of tossed this around probably a couple of years ago. The founder and CEO of Profit Master, Richard Croker, and I said, well, let's do a podcast series. So we decided we were going to do a podcast series. We did a two-series, 6-part podcast series. Let me get that right. And that was all about talking numbers, mastering people. And we thought, you know what, this year we're going to raise the bar and we're going to do some live shows, live content, all about people, all people related to help you in your business, whether you're a business owner or a team member, something that can help you. So if you've missed any of our masterclasses over the last 6 months or so, jump into YouTube, type in Profit Master Global Outsourcing. Not only will the podcast series that we did a couple of years ago pop up, all the last shows that we've done as well will pop up. So please have a look at that. Subscribe to the channel. It'll be delivered to you when you open your content, which is really important. And the best part is it's free content. So it's free educational content for all of you out there and your team members. Now, who is Profit Master Global? You may be asking if you're not sure. Let me share a little bit about that. So they're a premium offshore provider. So they're there to help you grow your business. If it's something for financial year 25, I can't believe we're so close to 30 June. But if it's something you're considering to look at a strategy to grow your team for FY25, and you want to look at how things can work with having maybe an offshore team. And I know a lot of businesses have moved to having an offshore team as well as their onshore team. Please chat to Delia McKenzie. She's the lady to chat to. She's probably going to be on this chat pretty soon. Hopefully the chat bar's working, Delia. But you've got the ability to, again, just understand the numbers. And I know from the numbers point of view that, you know, for example, a lot of the businesses using it right now would have a 20 to 25% increase in productivity and close to a 40% reduction in costs. So again, if that's something you want to look at for FY25 and beyond to build your offshore team, please chat to Delia McKenzie. Now, while we're on that, I just wanted to quickly share as well, because we've got a conference coming up. So Profit Master Global Outsourcing has got it's their 10th year anniversary, and they've got their conference coming up, as well as their 10-year anniversary conference dinner. So we are heading to the Philippines. It's in September. If you want to book in a quick trip, bring the family, bring everyone, bring them along to our conference. It's on the 11th to the 13th of September, 2 to 3 days of wonderful weather, food, culture, great learning, educational content will be there. I'll be emceeing. So please, if that's something, again, that you would like to know more about, Delia, I'm sure there's QR codes to register your interest. There's landing pages to make sure you can register, but check it out. It's a great place to be in September. So we'd love to have you there. Now, let's get to today's topic after all of that. I've got the pleasure of, again, introducing you to someone that I've worked pretty closely with, and she's got a lot to share, and she's an expert in the subject matter of personal branding. We're talking about personal branding and communication using some AI tools, hacks, and tips. I had the pleasure of spending some time with Emma last week as well, because she was nominated as a finalist with 3 awards in the Sydney Business Awards. So Emma Reeves, welcome to this masterclass.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks for having me again.
It is my absolute pleasure. Now we've got, just under an hour to get through a fair bit of content here. And believe me, we've got a lot to get through, haven't we? So let's kick off with sharing a little bit about you. Obviously, you were nominated for some fantastic awards last week in Sydney. How about you share a little bit about you and Accelerate Marketing?
Sure. So Accelerate Marketing turned 4 last week. So we started 4 years ago in COVID. We identified that at the time, there was a need for businesses who were rapidly growing, but didn't have an efficient and effective marketing strategy in place. So our business started and we offered both an outsourced CMO model. So we're an outsourced CMO, we offer strategic support and strategy, And we are also a full service digital marketing agency. We started and we found ourselves in a niche working with professional services and financial services firms. We continue to work with firms of that nature, as well as some other professional services, be that law, environmental, sustainable resources. So the strategy that we work with on our clients is really getting underneath who is their business, who are the people that work for their business, what are their goals in terms of their growth, client numbers. It could be internal morale. What is it that they want to improve and achieve over a long-term period, and where they partner for growth. We have an expanded team, so we've just also recently introduced a new staff member to our team. So we are a growing team, but we also have an extended network of resources, which allows us to provide a full service to our clients.
Brilliant. Well said. Well said.
Thank you.
Let's get into personal branding now. I know personally it was something that while I pushed back on from my coach probably about 2.5 years ago, I ended up doing it. And I'm glad I did it as well, because I think it is really, really important. So let's talk about personal branding. How important is it in today's landscape, to have a really good online presence?
It's incredibly important. In the space of professional services, people work with people who they know, like, and trust. And it's often the people behind the brand are, the decision makers and the ones building the rapport with their clients, referral partners, other stakeholders of their business. So if you're in a professional role and you have maybe dabbled with LinkedIn, maybe dabbled with events, so your personal brand is everywhere, online and offline. And we've had some conversations, even, more so recently over the last couple of months, of individuals within businesses not really sure where they stand, who their identity is. And I think this is a really important thing for business owners who have maybe started a business with them as the face of the brand and the business and driving the business, and their customers have bought into them as the expert. And now it's changing from a them to a we, and it's more about their team capability and expertise. And they want that to be a sustainable approach to grow the brand. So it's both for directors, and it's also for employees who are now, being tasked to go out and network more. And what is networking? And and meeting new people and interactions and all of that doesn't come natural to everyone. I know, that might be a surprise to some of us extroverts, but it's not. And so it's both providing them with the skills and knowledge and expertise of how to represent themselves as well as the business. And sometimes the order of what you lead with will change depending on your environment.
Yeah, well said. And I think it's an interesting one. And when you've gone through it as well, there may be a lot of people that have gone through it online. There may be a lot of people that are going, let me have a look at this. And we're going to give you some examples of how you can sort of improve this as well. But one of the key things that you just mentioned as well is that people buy from people that they like. And I think the first thing that we all do nowadays is when we get introduced to an individual or a brand, what's the first thing we do? We've all got these sort of things where we're all jumping on our phones or we're on our computers, we're searching, and up pops a presence of someone. And I think that's a really important one. So I know when I went through my process, the importance of looking at that and saying, right, what can we do to change that? And to go through with someone like you that I did to, colors and what should I be wearing? What do I wear? And does that represent what I look like to the person on the other side looking at the screen?
Yeah.
All those little things was so important. And that's why it's so good to be able to share this today with so many people online.
Yes, that consistently for your online and your offline presence. So making sure the way that you show up online, the things that you talk about. So, from a corporate standpoint, your brand is more than just your logo and your colors. It's your tone of voice. It's, there's a lot of different factors. The same applies for your personal brand. And so there's, sometimes this, divide on, do I share everything about the business or what I do in terms of professional sense on my personal pages? And, the business then sometimes doesn't have ownership of that. Your LinkedIn page is your own page, as same for Instagram and Facebook and other channels. And so individuals sometimes get confused or uncertain if they want to share professionally, personally, professionally. So there's this kind of, balance there, which is to each person, but to be supported by the organization of, these are the types of things we'd love for you to share and talk about on LinkedIn. You know, your personal achievements, your, you know, trips and client visits, the networking events, the people that you meet, you know, those type of things are really appropriate to share, especially on a LinkedIn as a channel. But
Yes.
then on your personal social media, it's really, you know, to each individual circumstance.
Yep. Yep. So what's the impact? Let's talk about the impact of a
Mhm.
strong personal brand on, let's say, your career and the business.
Mm. So there's this association with who you are and what you do. And it's something we talk to our clients and a lot of business owners quite often around having a streamlined message about who you are and what you do and who you help. And then also what your ask is. So if you're going into a networking scenario, and I know we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but if you're going into a networking scenario, you're going to that environment potentially having an ask. So potentially having something that you want to get out of that. Now, that could just be learning about a new topic. It could be trying to find a client. It could be trying to find a referral partner. It could be trying to find a client for your client.
Mhm.
So if you go in with it with a clear intention in terms of who you are and what you do, but also what your ask is, then you're going to make sure that you're attending events that are going to be beneficial for you and, you know, going to reward you in the way that you see fit. So going in with a strong narrative of, you know, you've probably gone to those events and you've reached out to someone and, oh, hey PJ, what do you do? Oh, what don't I do? You know, I run a worm farm and I'm an athlete and I run a business, and you get really lost and you don't know what they actually do and how you can help them, because people are problem solvers and they're trying to find a way to relate into you, and they're a little bit confused and flustered to what actually you do and what your ask is. So if you tie those things in together, who you are as an individual, also in that environment, who you are going to be led with. So say, for example, I'm at a networking event. I'll go in and say, I run a digital marketing agency. We have a team based in Sydney. We service clients, et cetera, et cetera. In other situations where I maybe don't want to disclose I'm a business owner, I might say, I'm in marketing. And so I still have a very clear message in those professional scenarios. Emma, marketing. Emma equals marketing. But in some scenarios, I'll have different asks. I'll just want to connect in, or maybe I am looking for clients at that particular time. So that clear message around who you are, what you do, and what your ask is, if you stitch those three things together, it's far easier for people to relate into you and understand and also assist you.
Yeah, well said. And look, I think this is going to be a good one, because I suppose everything you're talking about is exactly what I was encouraged. I was trying to come up with the right word. So I was encouraged to do, let's say, 3 years ago, and it was a little bit challenging even for someone like me to be able to put, because sometimes you got to put yourself out there, which is something you're a little bit afraid to do sometimes. But it's like, okay, so I was encouraged to do it. I went along with it, and I think one of the critical things was when we looked at LinkedIn, and I think it's a great little segue into LinkedIn, because I think most business professionals now, are on LinkedIn, whether we're searching for team members, whether we're searching for networks, whether we're joining networks. I know a lot of people, there was probably over 100 people that accepted the invitation for this masterclass via LinkedIn. So let's look at LinkedIn, and let's have a look at let's talk about profile, how it can be, how does, one optimize their profile? And then if we can sort of break down things, let's say picture, profile, banner, headline, summary, and then we've got their experience, education. I think from memory, there's skills, recommendations, endorsements. Are you okay to run through those?
Yeah, sure. And I've actually got a resource that I can share following this. So either people can reach out to you or we can just email it out. And it's a bit of a checklist and a bit of it provides both examples of some really good profiles that you can base yourself off as well. So, as you touched on, there's a couple of things that stand out which people look for. People have a really short attention span. Generally have 2 seconds when you're looking at an ad. You get a little bit longer when you're looking at someone's LinkedIn page because the intent is there. But the first thing that they do notice, if you do connect, you are friends or follow, is that cover photo. And it is really a striking image that is a very easy fix for your page. I know some people who just have Sydney, some people who have actually really branded, really nicely done cover photos we might have helped them with. And, they have that, and there's a consistent look and feel across every employee that you click on for that business, that all their employees have the same cover photo. It's a way that you could also include a message in there. So you can include a tagline, or you can include a couple of, points around your services. So again, it's another opportunity. It's a huge piece of real estate. It's another opportunity for people to get that first impression around your professionalism and who you are and what you do. And then a couple of other sections that stand out is your headshot and your photo. If you have a headshot from older than 5 years ago, please go get a new one and get a fresh shot. A couple more wrinkles doesn't matter. It's who you are, and it's that authentic connection into someone. If my cover photo had red hair, say, and then someone saw me in person, they may be a little bit, jarred around who I am and if I actually am who I say I am. So this recognition of who you are online with offline is really important. And it's something as simple as a headshot, which can really be a make or break in some of those new relationships, as well as then your tagline underneath. So it is nice to say who you are and where you work, but you can also be really creative and just say, marketing nerd, or maybe you're, the master of all people, of all outsourced people. And, you can be really creative with, what you're solving and what your mission is. And this is you personally, this is your page. So you have the option to connect it back to where you work, but you also have the option to just connect into your purpose and your value and, your message and what you're striving to do and why people should connect with you.
And I think that's a really important one, because you can, and you use the word just then, creative. I think everybody can be creative with the way that they can just have that. I think I start mine with dad. I think that's the most important thing to me. Sort of having 3 boys. Most people know me. I've got 3 boys, but you can be fun with it, whether it's, like you said, marketing nerd or accounting nerd or legal, keeping people out of jail, whatever you want to do, you've got the ability to have a bit of fun with it, because it is a bit of a starting point to what people see. Image, you see that, and then it's a conversation starter.
Yeah. We have one of our clients who's an accountant, does not have anything about accounting on his page, just says the fixer. That is what he wants to be known as, is, he fixes people's problems and he helps grow people's businesses. And, he's at a point now where he has quite an extensive team. It's not about him leading the business. People still know that he runs a business and that's why they buy into the business. But it's the team capability, which is really, driving the customer service and the retention and, the acquisition of new business. So be fun with it. The other sections then are your about section. So this is talking to your professional experience. So this is like your length of experience. Excuse me. So this is looking at your professional history. Where have you come from? What are you doing now? Where do you work? Including some of those things. And then I've been talking all week. Tuesday. And then it's going into your individual experience for that particular role. So what is it really that you're tasked to do? What change are you making in your current role? So you're filtering down. So you're going really high level. You as your image, your tagline, going into more deeper into your professional experience. The old school way, probably like 10 years ago, you'd list out, I'm really good at Microsoft Excel. It's less about the technical skills. It's more about the story of where you've been and where you are and who you help. Yes. And then the about section is a specific section. Again, it just gives more content, makes people, find you a bit easier.
I'll let you take a sip of water. How important is, certainly with the way that we get viewed, when it comes to, like I sort of look at recommendations and endorsements a bit like a Google review. Yeah. How important is that?
So it's credibility and trust is always important in a relationship as a baseline. There's lots of different tools you can use for recommendations. So if you're a business owner and you have Google reviews, you could use product review. Then there's Glassdoor, which is reviewing your business and brand as an employer. And the best way to really get value out of reviews is to try and narrow in on one particular channel you think is going to be most representative for your business. Okay. So if you want to be highly searched, then narrow in on Google reviews and probably encourage people to leave a Google review over than LinkedIn. So then you're dispersing out the impact. And so you've got a couple here and a couple there and a couple there. It works better actually to narrow in one particular channel. Okay. So then you can say, you have 500 5-star reviews and product review,
Mm.
whereas you got 200 here and 50 there and 2 there and 5 there, and it's like you're going too broad. So as just a general rule, Google reviews work extremely well, especially if you need to be a highly searched business. The Facebook recommendations are great. I would say if you are someone that is potentially looking for a new job and a new role, that is something that recruiters look quite frequently at in terms of that recommendation piece and credibility piece. Not so much from who you're doing business with, because you're doing business with the person,
Yeah.
and also your person, what you are about, rather than what people say you're about.
Okay.
Needs to come from you. But yeah, reviews are great. Testimonials are great. You know, case studies are even better. Video case studies are like creme de la creme. So yeah, it's always great to have other people validate you and validate your business. But I would say just try and be really particular and intentional with what channel you're going to use for that.
Because I think even with LinkedIn, you've got the ability to put videos up there as well. I know that.
You do, absolutely.
Yeah, I can remember, just gone blank for a second, but I'm trying to think of the company that I saw, and I thought to myself, that's very clever, because I remember searching for him. I didn't know much about him. Someone recommended him. Bang, I'm on LinkedIn. I had a quick look, and then I saw these videos pop up, and I thought to myself, considering the amount of videos I do, why don't I have that on there? It sort of gave me the ability to look at how he presents, and the ability to, you know, if I was going to get someone on here as a masterclass subject matter expert, they need to be presentable, don't they? So you think about the use of what's there, and not many people are using it.
No, and it takes effort. You know, it really needs to be prioritized, and it needs to be an intentional part of a strategy. It's great if you have a LinkedIn page. You know, you're already ahead of the game for a lot. If you have one that is regularly active, and I'm saying maybe even once a week, I would classify as active. That's good. Now you want to get into this really, I think, you know, getting a bit deeper into who do you want to connect with. I know we're going to talk about that in a minute, of how do you connect and network, and how does that kind of matrix work. So when you are looking at your page, and hopefully, you know, you're looking at it, you know, following this, it triggers you to do a bit of an audit. Have a think about, you know, the cover photo in your image and the description. But also have a think about, like you said, those featured posts. So what call to action do you want people to have? What impression do you want them to have of you? And then so you can feature and you can pin posts. You can actually have your website link in there now. You can have downloadable PDFs and guides. So, you know, perhaps maybe it's a you know, an outsourcing guide to people, or, you know, it's a sales training session, introduction. And so if you want people to know that you are a sales trainer, or, you know, a great accountant, then have a think about maybe an end of financial year tax guide, you know, how to save on your taxes financial year, and here are a couple of tips and tricks. That comes to content, and even you as an individual and a personal brand, people still look to you as an expert and a specialist within a particular area. So your online presence, particularly your LinkedIn profile, is a great way to showcase that and to highlight that at the top of your page. So you can feature posts, but if you pin a post, you have to remember to unpin it if it's no longer relevant. So there is a bit of a maintenance piece there. Set yourself a calendar invite once a month, reoccurring. You look at your LinkedIn page, you do a bit of an audit. Is that still relevant? Is that still active? Do I need to follow, engage with more people? It's a great way to do it. Just put it as a part of a kind of routine cadence, and yeah, maintenance check.
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. I like your thought process of the audit, because it's a great time of the year. I always look at the start of the calendar year and the start of the financial year to go, right, what are the sorts of things that from a business point of view, and I know all business, or most business owners do it, to look at things that are working. How do I improve it? So there's no reason why this couldn't be for your business as well as your personal page as well. So most of us have got a, I've got a Paul Jansz page. You've got a Accelerate marketing page, plus you've got an Emma Reeves page. So it's a great opportunity to look at that and work out how that can be improved. I like it.
Yep.
So you mentioned just before in terms of connect and communicate. What's your thoughts on there? How important is it? And I know you mentioned once a week. If people really want to be active, what should they be doing?
Yeah, so it's again going back to in marketing and as marketers, we are trained to think about audience. Who is your audience? What is the content? And then what is the appropriate channel or messaging in order to connect with that person? Right place, right time, right message. That is like marketing 101, which you can apply to a lot of things. So in this space, it's thinking again about who do you want to connect with? So if you're an accountant and you want to connect with other referral partners, what are the best channels to do that? LinkedIn is certainly one, but largely events because you're building a rapport and relationship and it needs to be in person. So if you are attending events as part of a way to build your professional network or to build your professional expertise or knowledge, whatever it may be, a really good way is to, like I said before, going into that environment with what is my ask? Who am I? What do I do? In what hierarchy do I need to talk about what do I do? So you can still say that you're a dad or you're a beef farmer or whatever it is. I remember I went to a lunch and I spoke to this lady and she goes, "Oh, I'm doing this, marathon on the weekend through the Blue Mountains." It's like, that's so cool. And so it was part of who she is. And, then what I did actually on the back of that Monday morning, I connected with her on LinkedIn. I was like, "How'd you go on the weekend? Did you make it all the way through? Did you make it through the checkpoints?" I actually don't really have an ask for her right now. I just want to be connected to her. But I wanted for her to remember and I guess recognize that I, really heard that about what she was doing and I showed an interest. So when you're connecting with people, there's a couple of ways you can do it. Again, using, say, an event scenario or a lunch or some type of in-person meeting, is connecting with them, linking back to the time and place you met and something you spoke about. It could be completely unrelated to business. It could be, "Oh, I heard that you had, how was your friend's barbecue on the weekend?" If you feel comfortable being that personal. Also, what's the meeting? So is there going to be a coffee catch up? Is there a Zoom meeting? Do you need to connect your teams together? You connect them to someone else, making sure you do that within 24 to 48 hours following when you meet with them.
Okay.
In some scenarios, I've even been more aggressive and I've done it the time and place that I'm there. "Oh, great. What's your calendar look like on Friday? I'm in the city. Should we meet 9 a.m.? Here, I'll quickly send you an invite." So you can do that, but you want to be efficient with it, as well as being really intentional and respectful to, if they are, you don't want to push it if that's something they don't want to do.
And I think that's a good point that you just raised, because while we're all business people, we're all dads, we're personal people. If those that have looked at my account, you'll see I'm doing the push-up challenge at the moment to raise
Yeah.
awareness for mental health and suicide prevention. Um, you'd be amazed at how many people connect with you because you've got a like for like connection.
Mm,
You don't share that information, you don't have that connection. Therefore,
mm.
there's no connection point, is there?
Yeah. And so let's use that as an example. So I know that you have done the push-up challenge in previous years because I followed you and we've been, associated for some time now. But I also know that you've mentioned that in some of your posts. So you could have like push-up challenge theme or like, something about, referencing that you do it many times. And that adds an additional layer and kind of level of interest into who you are as an individual. The same as if you're like, I do love to go to different networking events. And so, that is something that is very closely associated with my personal brand and the business because we assist our clients in that. And so, yeah, you can be really creative with that and think about that when you go into, those type of events.
Okay, so let's touch on that for a sec. You just mentioned groups and networking events.
Mhm.
Tell us about those. Are they live events or online events? What are you thinking?
So it depends what you want to get out of it. And so we spoke with a client about this recently. We actually spoke directly to their team and we asked them if they wanted to go to more networking events. And if they did, what would they look like? And they actually wanted to go to a lot of educational events and they were happy to go to networking, but due to kind of kids and extracurricular activities, they really would prefer to have them in business hours. And so there are so many different events you can attend, but you want to go where you're going to get the value. So be that a client or an educational purpose. You can have a look by association. So there's lots of networking associations you can have a look at different chapters, where they're located in proximity to you. Does the timing of those events work for you? So some are really early morning, some are really late evening, some are midday. So have a look at, the purpose and the timing and the audience, as well as the location, weighs into it. Then you can also have a look by venue. So say in Sydney, ICC have lots of different events on, and there's lots of other kind of spaces that hold corporate events. So if you're following their calendar, then you're going to get notifications around those events. It's also like what's on in Sydney. So there's pages and newsletters you can follow. And so there's a couple of different ways you can kind of stay on the pulse of like what's happening. But you want to go into a frame of mind of what do I want to attend? What do I want out of it? And is that therefore going to be the right event for me?
Okay, good. Because I think that's, and I suppose when you're then connecting, so you're there, because this is always an interesting one that I see people at events sometimes, and they're, is there, when we're posting, I'm not quite sure, let's talk about it now anyway, it doesn't really matter.
Yep.
But when we're posting, how important is, let's say, video to an image or a photo? And is there something, you know, should be doing something more of? Is more video going to get more likes and more, what do they call it? Impressions,
Yes.
that's it.
The short answer is yes. A video gets far more engagement than a photo or multiple photos. So if you put multiple photos up, you tend to get 3 times the amount of engagement. If you put a video up, you tend to get 5 times the amount of engagement on LinkedIn. I actually saw a post recently by someone who we used to work with, and it was a post about their anniversary, and they had been at the company for a really long time. And there was only 2 photos. And it was just a bit disappointing of I really think that would be a great way to have the video, you know, of that person's interactions, like demonstrate, you know, who they are and the contributions to the business and how they've been with the team and out. And there was just 2 photos, and I actually looked at the engagement. It was quite low for the reputation this person has in the business. And so you want almost your post and what you're putting out there to be representative and to do justice of what you're sharing. I know I personally also put up a post on LinkedIn about, I went to the Skid Pen, part of a networking group, and I put up a couple of photos, and I was also being sensitive that it wasn't my car that I was driving, and maybe I'd get, you know, critiqued that I thought I did a great job, and, you know, people actually there said, is that a he or is she driving? Which I was very impressed by. But I also didn't want to share, particularly on LinkedIn, you know, those videos of me driving someone else's car, and I just shared a couple of photos. And someone said, oh, you're not going to share any videos. And so for that particular event, people expected video content.
Video, yeah.
Now I still shared lots of photos and posted really well. And, you know, the intention was just to share my experience and also thank those that organized it, and to, you know, note that I had a really great time. And so for me, you know, I also share things personally. It's just for experience and for, you know, the sentiment that I want to convey.
Yes.
And yeah, it's not about impressions and likes, and, you know, it's not about getting millions and millions of views and followers. It's about being really authentic and intentional with, you know, who my audience is.
Yes.
But for that particular post, yeah, people were looking for video.
And I think that's an important one, because, you know, you think about, like, I was at a networking event last week as well, last Thursday, with the guys from Profit Master as well as My Prosperity, and you meet new people. Funnily enough, I met someone that knew, which was,
Yes.
you know, I didn't expect to meet Joseph there, and it's always interesting that nowadays you've got to think, well, we've all got our phones with us. Take a photo and then post something and thank them. It was great to meet you. Or I think we've got to get into that habit of doing that, because I suppose maybe 12 months or 2 years ago, we may not have done that. But now with access to posting instantaneously and connecting with someone, I think no one's ever afraid to just go, let me search for you. Can you put your name into my LinkedIn search? Oh, bang, there you are. I'm going to connect with you now.
Yeah, and look, that's actually makes me think of like a funny conversation of being at a networking event, and someone said, oh, don't you have the LinkedIn barcode? And I actually use really good tip. So I use a electric, or like a QR code business card. It's called Blink, BLINQ. And you can have all your details in there if you've got different offices and different phone numbers for different, you know, areas that you work in. And by scanning that, you go straight to contact details, and you're already added into their phone. So it depends on what connection is more important to you. Do you want them to have your information, and do you want theirs? Or do you want to connect with them on a social platform where you don't actually own that data? So just being really intentional. And someone's joked and said, oh, do you not have a, you know, do you not know how to find the QR code on LinkedIn? I was like, I absolutely do. Do you want a QR code? Do you want a physical card? Do you want an electric card? Do you want a Blink card? Like, I have all bases covered, because my broad, my audience is broad.
Yes.
And so some people do prefer a physical card. So I have them on me. Some
Right.
people want me to tap on their phone. I have that on me. And so, you change your, I guess, approach to, how they want to connect, but you also connect with them the way that you're wanting to contact them.
Yes.
So if I want to email them, maybe I'll put a meeting invite in their calendar. If I want them to call me, if I want to call them, I'll get their details. If I want them to see what I'm doing on LinkedIn and nurture them over a period of time, then I'll connect with them on LinkedIn. So yeah, there's lots of different ways you can do it. And as a marketer, we have them all.
Yeah, and look, the best thing about Blink as well that Em just mentioned, if you've got two profiles, like I've got it on mine, and I'm the same. If I quickly went to it and showed you guys, oh God, what am I doing? So there it is there, if you can see that. I'm not sure if I can see that. Bang, it comes up. You scan the QR code. That's free. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can put your image on there. You can put your logo on there. It is free of charge. And all anyone needs to do is to scan it. And I don't meet too many people nowadays that don't have mobile phones with the image where you can scan it and bang, it goes straight into their contacts. How important is it to connect if you're doing all of that and people are doing that? How important is it to connect with them straight away? And I think you mentioned this before, but
Yep.
how important is that?
It's quite important if you want an immediate action from that. So if you had a really good conversation and you think, oh, I can absolutely use this person's service. I actually met with someone last week. I'll use a personal example. I met with someone last week who's an SEO agency. Now we write blog content, we restructure websites, we do website maintenance, but in terms of a full scale SEO approach, an on-page, off-page SEO, backlinking, like updating all meta titles and descriptions, like that is a kind of a full wheelhouse. And we don't offer that as a set service. We will partner with other people if that's what they want.
Yeah.
I met this guy in an event. He was like, I'm based in Sydney. We just do SEO. We always partner with marketing agencies. I was like, give me your card, call me tomorrow. Anyways, I'm having a meeting with him this week, but that's 2 weeks on. And so if I hadn't booked that meeting and straight away, I would have completely lost interest and perhaps, booked him with someone else, but his schedule, my schedule didn't align. And if I was him, I would have reached out and said, I saw you booked him for 2 weeks time. Actually, what is your availability to look up this week? Because if you do use those Calendly links, you can be really restricted because they block time. So there's probably just a good point. If you send someone a Calendly link, some people are alienated to that because they want personal invites. Sometimes you block out too much time that person thinks, I'm never going to get a meeting with this person. So if you ask them to do something and they don't take that action, follow up with them and try and provide an alternative. Or make sure that that action is blocked in and that you nurture that conversation over the next 2 weeks. Hey, Emma, I noticed we've got our call on Friday. Is there anything that you need from me to review before that call? Or do you want to share anything about your clients? Or I've actually got Wednesday that's freed up. So whatever action you want them to take, try and get that as early as possible. Or if not, try and nurture them through that process so you maintain that meeting.
Brilliant. Now, I think people that I talk to sometimes tells me, oh, look, and I think we hear this a lot in business, but time is probably the biggest inhibitor. What sort of tips, tricks, and you sort of mentioned, you do blogs and you do all sorts of different postings for people. What sort of tips and tricks are around in terms of communication nowadays? I know what Apple AI or AI Apple, whatever it was only launched a couple of weeks ago. Now we've got access to a lot of different AI tools that are out there. Some people are using ChatGPT. I think you can tell when people are using ChatGPT as well, so you've got to be careful. But what's your thoughts on all of this?
So there's a couple of really good communication tools, and again, depends what you do. You'll probably find that a lot of the softwares that you use, there's like AI plans or improvements, or there's like a package that you can go onto. And there's also set tools and processes. So something that we use as an example for meetings, we use a note taker called Fathom, which is a tool that plugs into your meetings. You obviously want to make sure that it's not confidential and your clients are okay with you recording that meeting. And then it provides you a transcript as well as a recording. So I can see the transcript afterwards, and the AI technology in that actually summarizes what that meeting was about and what the key action points were. So it's a really handy tool. You could then say we're having a session about, planning for your personal brand. I could export that information as a transcript, and I could utilize ChatGPT potentially structure and pull out some actions, or maybe, rewrite your bio, or use that information and use to summarize. And that's what ChatGPT is really good for. It's really good in terms of consolidating lots of different information sources and then telling it what to do. And you might pay something in ChatGPT and actually saying to it, hey, you talk to it. You say, hey, I'm going to provide you some information off the back of a call I had with PJ. I don't need you to do anything with it just yet, but I need you to just note this information down. You copy and paste a transcript in, or say, noted, waiting on other things. It won't do anything with that. So you consolidate all the information in, and then you tell it what you want it to do and prompt it. So having a think about where you think maybe your processes could streamline.
Yeah.
If you're doing voiceovers, there's now tools that actually download your voice, and then you can use that as a voiceover on other platforms. And so you just type in the content and it uses your voice now on other videos as commentary. There's so many different tools. So also we could send through a bit of a list following this, of, the top hottest AI tools to trial, but you want to use them in conjunction with your existing systems and processes,
Right.
and think about efficiency and, as well as quality of your product and delivery. You don't want it to be impacted.
I think the Fathoms or the Otters or that
Yes,
sort of,
absolutely.
it's priceless, especially for anyone that's in sort of financial services, as an example, and compliance notes are so important. I know the guys at Wheelhouse showed me how Otter works one day, and I was blown away that it is via Zoom. It's attached to Zoom. It takes the notes. The clarity to the notes that come out of that were just phenomenal. So again, the ability to save time is critical.
Yes. And there's also, HubSpot is probably a system a lot of people have heard about. The way that it tracks your emails being sent, and the way that it allows you, so if I send a contract to you, I'll know how many times you've opened that, how long you've spent on that email, and if you've when you've last looked at it. So tools like that and systems and processes like that, for bigger businesses, they are harder to implement, but it does give you the visibility on how is that person interacting with what I've sent, and how can I utilize that to then reframe the conversation to get them to do what I want them to do.
Okay.
And so it's a bit of a big brother kind of approach, but there's lots of tools out there. Grammarly as well, which is an easy kind of plug in to make sure that punctuation and your grammar and everything is on point, because your professional communications, both in a verbal and non-verbal sense, are really important. So getting your team to add that in is really, quite an easy thing to do. So
and you sort of another little segue with most communications now taking place via, let's say, email. Is there a best practice approach to writing an email?
Yeah, so I would, again, thinking about your audience. So I know I've worked with senior directors and board members. The information they want is like 3 bullet points compared to someone who's maybe in a more detailed role. So being really intentional with the communication you're sending, who you're sending it to, and what do they really want out of that. I've looked at emails. I know even recently I've looked at a couple of emails, and I haven't had the bandwidth to absorb that. I could then use a tool like ChatGPT to copy and paste it in and say, tell me what actions are for me needed off the back of this. But some people are really detail orientated, and actually we're going to put a blog out tomorrow around networking and personality types. So have a look out for it. It's going to be on LinkedIn, the LinkedIn newsletter, and it talks about different personality types. And if you haven't heard about the squares and circles and squiggles and triangles of the world, it's one to read, because that actually allows you to think about your communication, be that email or in a professional setting, of how to communicate. And if someone sends you a really lengthy email, they're probably a square personality type. So don't take offense at that. That's just how they like to communicate. I personally am a definite triangle, and so I like efficiency and outcomes. And so I also like, being, busy and looking at different deliverables. I like the high level view. And so, thinking about communication, be that, email, in person, on your LinkedIn posts, thinking about personality types. So keep an eye out for that LinkedIn newsletter. We'll be sharing it tomorrow.
Brilliant. So as I suppose we're approaching a new financial year, like we said before, there's a lot of people that, will be doing a lot of planning I know there's some planning sessions going on, strategic planning, operational planning.
Mhm.
Are there some sort of marketing, call it fundamentals, that you can suggest that some of the companies and individuals can start looking at for FY25?
Yeah, sure. I would say, look, always doing a little bit of an audit on your kind of customer avatars and your audiences is important. So the content you're putting out there, what are you putting out there and why are you putting it out there? And are you getting the engagement and the results off the back of it? So we know for our clients, like we consistently write blog content, we write it for a reason. It both helps with SEO, and sometimes 3 or 4 out of their kind of top 10 performing pages are actually blogs. It could be blogs from 2 years ago. And so it's a really nice way to continue to drive traffic to your site with high intent for a particular topic. And so thinking about the audience in mind, for be that a blog or a social post or a newsletter, so doing an audit of who is your target audience, and are you trying to put out content to convert more customers, to get more people to refer to you, to get your company to buy into what you do? You know, who is the primary audience, and then what should you be sharing?
Okay, so there's a really interesting one there to continue to look at. What we're going to do is I'm just going to quickly ask anybody online, if you've got questions for Em, to please drop them into the Q&A. I know I've just shared something because I think the chat bar is not working, as it wasn't working last time as well, but I just put something in there with regards to the conference if anyone wants to know, because I had a couple of questions about that as well. But if you've got a question to Em, whether it be about personal branding, how your business looks, what you should be doing. We've spoken about communication, some of the AI tools as well. Please drop them in there and we'll come back to that. Now, Em, you wanted to share, did you still want me to share that page to do with
Send it as a resource.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want me to share that now?
Yeah, sure, we can.
Maybe we can quickly chat about that as we look to
Mhm.
wrap up. I'm just going to share my screen to everybody on there just so you can have a look at this, which Em sent me about 1 minute before we went live. Is that sharing?
Yes.
Good. I'll let you talk to it.
So this is a checklist that we've kind of talked about today. There's 2 different slides to this. If you go, can you go back 1 slide?
Is that it?
Yes. So this is what we talked about today in terms of cover photo, profile photo, your tagline, your about section, the overview section, and then your experience by different job. Personalized URL is an easy way to do this. It basically just removes out some of the numbers and the distraction from your name. If your name is taken, you can put like a number next to it, a 1 or a 2, or something at the end of it. It just makes it really clean when you're sharing. And then the next slide is a bit more detail, again going into that kind of second level of detail in terms of the content, any features, recommendations. And then it's just talking about how to share, so the different content. So 2 short form posts per week, 1 blog per month. That's quite aspirational for someone who's maybe getting back started again. But video, 4 times more engagement. Now it's 5 times more engagement. And sharing relevant posts from your network. So what's really great to comment on is recognizing other peers in your network of their achievements, and commenting on those posts definitely helps your personal page. Personal pages get far more engagement than a company page. And then looking at utilizing your company page to promote yourself as well. So it's far easier for someone to say Accelerate to say, Emma attended this event and met with PJ, and maybe there's a narrative there, or maybe I want that to come from my personal page. So if you say, yay, I got promoted, that's harder to do for a first person than it is third person. So yeah, if you're wanting to get to those kind of short form posts, maybe sharing what your company is doing, or sharing something else, a different page or a network that you follow would be another way to do that.
Okay. And I know there was some stats out there that the greatest engagement should take place in the first 1 or 2 hours. Is that still correct?
Yeah, it is. And there's other statistic around, especially from a brand standpoint, that someone needs to see your business or brand at least 7 times before becoming a customer.
Yeah.
So your brand is your color, it's your logo, it's your tone, it's content, it's you, it's business, it's all those things. And so thinking about that repetition and that consistency and that alignment with who you're trying to target and why you're targeting them, and doing so efficiently and effectively, nurturing those people is super important.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. What I might do is I'm going to let you think about maybe some top 3 action items from this masterclass, Em, and I'm going to take a
Mhm.
couple of questions here.
Yeah,
And
I
then
can see there's one in the
yeah,
chat
Em's just
already.
asked, what are your thoughts on a recent AFR article on how ChatGPT is going to affect SEO and Google Ads?
So I would say in terms of, ChatGPT impacting more broadly the marketing space, it's definitely impacted, say, coders in a digital space and website developers. There is still a level of checking and oversight which needs to be applied, as it will be needed to be applied to everything for now, as far as I can see. In terms of SEO and Google Ads, it will definitely impact the ability to broaden, I would say, like the number of ads being run. Google also have, like, you have Performance Max, and there's AI integrations within Google itself in terms of generating, customizing ads based on best performing creators and taglines. So there's already a level of optimization through different platforms where you run ads that endeavors to optimize to the fullest extent. In terms of SEO, so there are different tools out there which can identify, SEO basically competing against each other. So if you're writing SEO based content and blogs and just churning that out, Google will eventually be able to, apply other tools to identify if that's being written by a bot, and if they want to discredit that. 10 years ago, a lot of people utilizing techniques on your website of running and creating repetition of certain search terms, and writing in white or hiding it on different pages to get pages boosted. So there's lots of things that play into Google rating your website, your domain, and also your page authority well, and auditing your overall performance of your website. It is around speed, so low time, speed time. It's one of the first things we help our clients with. This is the image rendering side is too big, so increasing page speed time, as well as the type of content. So the bots on there basically look at, is this content well structured, informative to the person's intent on the search term, and if it's hitting those boxes, then great. I think there's going to be an evolution of AI in terms of how that content, if the way that content's being created, if that's discredited or impacted in terms of those kind of rankings and audits.
Okay, good question though. It's very good,
Yeah,
because
very good
that's the thing.
question.
And it's so fast moving as well, isn't it, in this space, which is to try and stay on top of it is always a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, certainly.
Okay, what do you think before we look to wrap up? We've got 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Your top 3 for people to look at doing as we close off June 30?
So first one I would say is audit your LinkedIn page, add a cover photo, look at getting some new headshots, add a little bit more in your bio and your about section, or think about a kind of snazzy headline. So LinkedIn is certainly one. The second one would be new financial year. Have a look at some events coming up. Pick an event that you haven't been to and go on your own, and go in. When you're connecting with people, not always ask them what you do and leading from professional sense, but getting to know who they are as a person. How did you get here? Did you get the train here? Have you been to this event before? Are you a member of this organization? And so going in with a slightly softer approach will sometimes bring down the walls of that other individual, not thinking that you're going in with a really firm agenda. You're getting to know the person, and if that blooms into a beautiful outcome, then great. And the third thing would be, I think we would just stop and have a look at your position. If you're a business owner and you've got a team, or if you're part of a team and you're looking to the broader business, taking a step back and thinking about some of the needs that you have as an employee and as a person. Do you know where your business is headed in FY25? Do you feel aligned to their vision and their mission and the budgeting and the clients that you're working with? Do you have a clear vision on that? And do you have clear guidance from managers and stakeholders as to what's happening? Now is a really good time to have that conversation, because we are people, we are also professionals, and those things are closely interlinked. So if we have a clearer vision of where our business or where we're headed, then potentially we'll have more satisfaction and more support. So it's a really good time to get aligned with that.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Loved it. And I agree. There's three really key areas there that everybody can focus on. Again, the great part about this is it's been recorded. So if you've got the ability to, it'll go into post-production soon and be up on the YouTube page in probably the next 48 hours. So you've got the ability to look at this, review it, work out what you can do. If you haven't had the opportunity to take any notes, or some people are in the car sometimes. So you've always got the opportunity to go back and have a look at what Emma said as well. So, but loved it. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. I know we're just about to hit an hour, which is amazing. Yeah. I think I saw a comment as well come through from Delia as well that mentioned that the conference is the 11th to the 13th. So the Profit Master Conference is the 11th to the 13th of September. So I think you just mentioned there, if you want to, and again, join a new network, look at something new, you want to come to the Philippines. I believe you're coming along?
I am actually coming to the Philippines. I'm not using myself as a draw card, but if you want to chat more about marketing, I will definitely be there as an attendee, and actually will be speaking about marketing on a couple of different topics. So yeah, thank you very much for inviting me to Profit Master. And yeah, I'm really excited. I've been to the Philippines before, but not for a long time. It's changed. It's also going to be in Clark, and I haven't been there before. So I'm excited to network with 30, 40 other business owners. It's networking on steroids. But it's also, a great business, and, definitely part of the kind of growth for a lot of industries is that kind of offshore model and outsource model. We're an outsourced CMO, so we're an advocate for, bringing people in to support your business in those certain areas. So yeah, super excited for it. September. It'll be here before we know it.
Oh, that's the scary part, isn't it? It's ridiculous when you think where we are to where we're going to be soon. But
yep.
I agree. It's a great opportunity. If you want to look at something like that, I'm sure Delia will reach out anyway, but make sure that you put that in the calendar if you want, 11th to the 13th of September. I agree. The Philippines, I was there for the first time. I've done a lot of travel. I've never been to the Philippines, and the people are amazing. The food just blew me away. Not to mention the networking opportunities and the learning that came from this well over the couple of days. So
the people were some of the nicest I've ever met, and I've traveled a bit around the world, and they were just so helpful, so gorgeous. Great experience all around.
Yeah, good.
Glad to come back.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for joining us today, Em. Again, there was a lot there that we went through. So again, if you've got
it also couple of extra resources as well. So I'll flick them over to you and share them around.
How do people find you if they want to find you?
You can connect with me on LinkedIn. Like I said, we've got that newsletter coming out. So if you're interested in kind of networking and looking at different personalities, definitely follow us on LinkedIn. We put a newsletter out once a month. Also exciting things happening within our business over the next couple of weeks. So LinkedIn, definitely me and the business.
You okay if I share the PDF with everybody that's online?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you can share that.
Okay. So what we showed very, very quickly to everyone that's still here. I'll email you guys as a quick thank you. You can opt in. So I won't just send it to you. If you want it, just let me know. And I'm more than happy to I'll email it back, and you can have it as a resource for sure. So, well, thanks, Em. And to all of you guys that have joined us today. Again, it's amazingly quick that 1 hour's just flown by, but we've covered a lot. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for being a part of this masterclass. Again, hopefully there was a heap of takeaways for you to work on, including those top 3. Check out your LinkedIn image, how your little bio can look, what you can add to it, and do a quick little audit. I think it's fantastic and a great opportunity to do that, whether it's next week when things are maybe a little bit calmer than maybe this week. Yeah, my next masterclass, it's on Tuesday, July 30, and I'm going to be talking about cyber. I'm going to be talking about security. I'm going to be talking about IT. So with another very special guest on this next masterclass. So look out for the invitation in your inbox pretty soon, and hopefully you can join us. Signing off till I see you next time. Thank you, Emma Reeves.
Thank you.
Rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.